She was just walking home from school. No cameras, no crowd, just Princess Charlotte, a folder under her arm and a royal guard a few steps behind. But when Camilla's son came tearing around the bend in a blacked-out luxury car, drunk, shouting, laughing at the wheel, the guard didn't wait for permission. He sprinted. He slammed into Charlotte, shielding her with his body, as the vehicle crushed a stone post inches from where she'd stood. And while the little girl sobbed in silence on the gravel, Camilla didn't run to comfort her. She ran to protect her son, blamed the guard, called it theatrical, said he had frightened the child. But what happened next wasn't a lecture, wasn't a slap on the wrist. It was a reckoning. Because when Prince William saw who was shaking and who was still laughing, he made a decision that fractured the royal household. Now, before we show you the exact moment the guard restrained Camilla's son in front of everyone, and the words William said that changed everything, drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from. Tap like, hit subscribe, and make sure the bell icon is on. Because today, loyalty wasn't quiet. It hit the gravel in red. The late afternoon sun stretched long shadows across the east lawn as Princess Charlotte walked between the trimmed hedges and the low perimeter wall lining Windsor's inner grounds. Her school sat behind them now, the small private building tucked into the estate's heart, built specifically for her education away from public eyes. She carried a folder in both arms, one end of her scarf caught in the breeze. Her boots clicked softly over the flagstone. 10 paces behind, Sergeant Elias Rourke maintained quiet formation. Coldstream Guard, 35 years old. Scar across his right jawline, hidden beneath the rigid line of his bearskin hat. His eyes scanned the landscape with precision, born of former deployment, not ceremony. He did not smile. He did not blink too often. But when the princess paused to peer over the edge of the decorative balustrade, his footfalls adjusted without sound, giving space, yet maintaining watch. Just ahead, Queen Camilla walked in conversation with the senior aide. Her voice carried lightly, not harsh, but distant. She wasn't walking with Charlotte. She was striding toward her own destination, expecting the child to follow, and Charlotte did, obediently, quietly. The courtyard ahead opened toward the Western Transit Loop, a paved stretch that royal vehicles occasionally used during internal family visits. Today it was supposed to remain inactive. The loop had been cleared 2 hours ago. No movement was logged on the route. There were no motorcade permissions in place. Rourke knew this. He'd double-checked it himself. Which is why the sound caught his attention. A low rumble. Not loud, but wrong. Off rhythm. Tyres on uneven gravel near the auxiliary bend. Then a too sudden rev on. An engine pushed harder than necessary. He glanced left across the hedge line and saw a flash of silver trim between the branches. Vehicle. Approaching too fast. Charlotte was mid-step, halfway to the edge of the path that intersected the bend. Rourke's left hand flexed near the leather strap of his rifle. He adjusted his stride subtly, watched. The car came into view through the opening, a Royal Fleet saloon, dark navy, unauthorized on this route. The driver's side window rolled down as it neared the corner. Camilla's son, loose grip on the wheel, slumped posture, sunglasses half cocked despite the dimming light. And when he leaned out and shouted something, it wasn't words, it was sound, slurred, playful, wrong. The aide turned. Rourke stopped walking. Charlotte hadn't seen it yet, but the engine growled again. A sudden forward jolt that caught even the estate steward by surprise. One of them raised an arm instinctively, but it was too late. The car veered slightly as it neared the crossing. The wheel jerked, the body dipped, and for a single terrible moment it surged toward the point where Charlotte had just stepped forward again. Rourke moved. He didn't call out. He didn't give a command. He launched. Sergeant Elias Rourke's body left the ground before anyone else had processed the sound. He reached Charlotte in 4 strides, long, trained, decisive. His left arm came around her waist, just as the car's front bumper jolted over the edge of the path. The girl hadn't even turned her head fully when she was lifted off the stone, pulled backward in a motion that stole breath and balance in one smooth surge. The car's left tyre clipped the curve of the raised walkway, not enough to launch it airborne, but more than enough to lose control. The vehicle skidded sideways, catching one of the low marble posts lining the hedge and ricocheting forward, scraping the bollard with a hollow metallic scream. Shards of gravel and glass burst outward like shrapnel. Rourke didn't let go. He spun his own body downward, absorbing Charlotte into his chest as he hit the ground with the precision of someone who had trained for far worse. His back took the force. His shoulder cracked against the flagstone. One knee folded awkwardly, but the grip he held on her remained unbroken. The car screeched to a halt 10 feet ahead, smoke curling from the front end where the grille had buckled. For one long second, silence hung. Then the screaming began. The aide shouted Charlotte's name. A groundskeeper ran toward them. Security earpieces crackled. Rourke didn't flinch. He pushed upward with one hand, checking Charlotte's position first, her face half hidden against his collar, breath short, eyes wide. "Mom," he said quietly, "you're all right. You're safe. Look at me." She didn't speak, just nodded, trembling violently. Behind them, the driver's side door flew open. Camilla's son staggered out, one leg tripping over the car's threshold. His sunglasses dropped to the ground. His hair was matted with sweat, and the first words from his mouth were a sharp, confused shout. "What the bloody hell?" He looked around like someone had just spilled wine on his shoes. His gaze swept from the car to the cracked bollard, to the cluster of aides sprinting down the walk, and then finally to Rourke, still crouched protectively over the young princess. He squinted. Did you jump in front of me?" he slurred. "What is this, a movie?" Camilla's voice hadn't been heard yet, but Rourke's jaw clenched slightly. Charlotte whimpered, a small, sharp sound. Her hands were gripping the edge of his sleeve. He helped her sit up slowly, keeping his own frame between her and the vehicle. The young man stumbled forward, throwing a limp arm toward the wrecked car like a magician just botched a trick. "It's nothing. Barely grazed." She walked out. "Why is everyone acting like it's a crime scene?" He belched audibly, swore under his breath. Security personnel were arriving now, not running but fast walking. One muttered into a radio, the others hesitated, because they knew who he was, Camilla's son. Still chuckling, still wobbling. And behind him now, heels clicking sharply against stone, came Queen Camilla herself, eyes locked not on the child who had nearly died, but on the man who had saved her. Charlotte was shaking, not crying yet, not properly, but her arms trembled as she sat half-curled against the iron base of a garden light. Her scarf had come loose and hung unevenly across her chest. One of her palms was scraped raw from the fall. Her knees were muddy. But the thing that struck Sergeant Elias Rourke more than anything was her eyes. They weren't blinking. They weren't focused. She was still in it, still frozen inside the moment the car lunged. Rourke lowered himself beside her again, one hand bracing against the ground to keep pressure off his right shoulder. His ribs throbbed, deep, radiating pain that warned him something was cracked, if not broken. But his voice remained steady. "Breathe in," he said quietly, "just once, deep as you can." Charlotte blinked once, startled, then obeyed, though it came out more as a gasp. Rourke didn't correct her. He just nodded. "Good. Try again." Behind them the scene deteriorated. Camilla's son had moved from defensive confusion, sir, to cocky dismissal. "It's not like she was run over. You lot act like I aimed for her. I was barely touching the pedal." "You were speeding," Rourke said, still not looking at him. "In a restricted lane. Under the influence." The man snorted. "Oh, piss off! You didn't do a breath test." "I didn't need to," Rourke replied. "I can smell you from here." Charlotte flinched at the sound of raised voices. Her hand shot out blindly, gripping Rourke's sleeve again. He covered her knuckles with one gloved hand. That's when Queen Camilla stepped between the car and the guard, eyes narrowed, cheeks flushed. "What's going on here?" she demanded. "Why is she on the ground?" Her eyes scanned the scene and landed on her son, who was now visibly swaying in place. His suit jacket hung open. His face was flushed. "Mum!" he said loudly. "It's fine. The little one tripped or whatever. This idiot just—" "She nearly died," Rourke said, finally rising. His voice was quiet, low, but it cut through the noise like a cleaver. "She was one step from the curb. You came through the bend at over twice the posted speed. You didn't brake. You didn't honk. You were laughing." Camilla stared at him, then turned to Charlotte. "Darling," she said, voice softening, "you're all right. It wasn't serious. You're just frightened." Charlotte didn't respond. Her eyes had dropped to the ground. She was still gripping Rourke's uniform. Camilla's tone sharpened again. "She wasn't hit," she said, "and your behaviour, Sergeant, is dangerously theatrical." Rourke didn't react, but Charlotte did. A soft, broken sound escaped her throat. Not loud, not intentional, just crushed air. Camilla's son smirked. "There, you see? Drama." The guard turned his full body now, shielding the child behind him, even as pain dragged through his side. "You should step back," he said. To Camilla, to her son, to the assumption that this was over, because it wasn't, not yet. Queen Camilla didn't step back. She advanced, only by half a stride, but it was deliberate, measured. The kind of step meant to re-establish control of a situation without needing to raise her voice. "She's not injured," Camilla said, "and your tone, Sergeant, is wholly inappropriate given the child's condition." The child, Rourke replied calmly, was nearly struck by a vehicle under the control of an impaired driver. "She's not a child, she's a royal," Camilla snapped. "She needs to learn not to overreact when things don't go according to plan." Charlotte inhaled sharply behind him. Rourke's left hand flexed slightly at his side. He didn't raise it. He didn't turn, but he did shift just enough to keep his body between Charlotte and the Queen. Camilla's son, meanwhile, had begun circling toward the side, muttering curses. "This is ridiculous," he scoffed. "One tiny bump and suddenly I'm on trial. Bloody circus act." "You weren't cleared to be here," Rourke said without looking at him. "No perimeter check, no vehicle flag. You breached secured grounds under influence." "I live here," the man barked. "I don't need your little clipboard permissions." "You endangered the life of a minor." "Oh, spare me the hero act. I swerved. I missed her." "You didn't see her," Rourke said. "I did." Camilla's tone cut through again, sharp now, unmistakably angry. "You're escalating this," she said, eyes locked on the guard. "You're frightening her more. She's already frightened. She was startled by your tackle." "Enough," Rourke said. It wasn't shouted, but it landed hard. Even Camilla blinked. He lowered his voice again. "Your son didn't stop. He didn't apologize. He didn't even ask if she was hurt. And now he's laughing while she trembles behind me. That's not a lapse in etiquette, ma'am. That's an institutional failure." Camilla's face changed, slightly, a twitch at the corner of her mouth. "You forget who you're speaking to," she said. Rourke's tone didn't change. "No, ma'am. I remember exactly who I'm protecting." The aide finally arrived behind them, breathless, flustered, horrified at what she'd missed. She dropped to her knees beside Charlotte, checking her hands, whispering soft comforts. Camilla's son didn't notice. He was still talking, louder now, stumbling forward as if trying to rejoin the conversation. "Unbelievable. One bad turn, and now I'm the villain. You guards are always looking for drama." He reached forward toward the guard's shoulder as if to shove or prod. Rourke caught his wrist mid-air, firm, fast, controlled. "You will not go near her." "Let go of me," Camilla shouted now. "He's not a threat. You're being absurd." Charlotte's whimper cracked the space between them. That did it. Rourke's stance changed. His grip adjusted. Because this wasn't a warning anymore. This was prevention. And the next move would not be words. The shift in Sergeant Elias Rourke's stance was so subtle that most of the staff didn't register it, but Camilla's son did. He sneered, then tried to twist his arm free. "Take your damn hands off me!" Rourke didn't reply. In one fluid motion, he turned his hips, stepped behind the man, and redirected the flailing arm into a controlled lock, one arm behind the back, the other hand placed calmly on the shoulder to guide the body downward. It wasn't aggressive, it wasn't brutal, it was containment. Camilla's son lost balance and dropped to one knee with a sharp grunt. The aide gasped. A groundskeeper froze mid-step. Charlotte startled and pulled closer to the aide beside her, but Rourke's voice remained level, almost clinical. "Remain still. You're impaired, you're escalating, and you've endangered a royal minor. I am neutralizing the threat." Camilla's voice cracked like a whip. "Get off him! How dare you lay a hand on my son?" "He approached the child," Rourke replied, eyes steady, unstable, shouting, unresponsive to redirection. "He was frustrated," Camilla spat. "He's not a criminal. He's my son." "He was out of control," Rourke answered. Charlotte flinched again. Camilla stepped forward now, pointing sharply at the guard. "You have no right to restrain family like this." "I have every right," Rourke said calmly. "And the duty." He presented a direct, active risk. Camilla's son thrashed slightly, but was no match for Rourke's leverage. "This is insane," he huffed. "She's not even hurt." "She hasn't spoken in 3 minutes," Rourke snapped, for the first time letting emotion bleed through. "She's 10. She was nearly struck by a vehicle that should never have been on that road." Camilla looked like she might strike him herself. "She's a royal. She must be taught composure, not coddled by men in costumes pretending they're still at war." That's when Charlotte's voice returned, faint, cracked, barely audible behind the aide's coat. "I thought I was going to die." The courtyard went still. Rourke slowly eased the man's wrist down, lowering him fully to his knees in the gravel. His breathing was steady, but beneath it, rage simmered just beneath the calm surface. He glanced back over his shoulder. Charlotte was crying now, small, soundless sobs buried in her sleeve. Camilla looked between the child and the guard with mounting disbelief. "You'll pay for this," she hissed. "You've humiliated him. You've humiliated me." "I did my job," Rourke said, "and your son is lucky that's all I did." At that moment, 2 senior palace security officers arrived, uniforms crisp, radios on. They saw the restrained man, the guard, the vehicle, and the child on the ground. Their expressions changed instantly. Rourke released the hold slowly and stood. The sun didn't rise right away. Camilla turned away, furious, looking for someone to command. But this time, no one moved. Because authority was coming, and it wasn't hers. The courtyard gates parted with swift precision. 3 senior aides stepped aside as Prince William entered at pace, his dark coat brushing the edges of his legs with each stride. He wasn't flanked by handlers, no fanfare, just movement, purposeful, silent, direct. He saw the car first, front end crumpled slightly against the bollard. Then the gathering of staff, then the sobbing child beside the aide, and then the guard. Standing upright, one hand slightly bloodied at the knuckle where the restraint had chafed his skin, and directly behind him, Camilla, flushed with rage, and her son, still kneeling on the gravel, muttering half-formed curses under his breath. "Status," William said. His voice wasn't loud, but it struck like a command. Rourke turned, gave a precise nod. "Perimeter breach by vehicle. Driver impaired. Princess Charlotte endangered, intercepted. Minor injury avoided." William's eyes moved instantly to Charlotte. The aide gave a short, shaky explanation. He came through the bend too fast. She didn't see him. Sergeant pulled her clear. Took the fall. William's brow darkened. He crouched beside Charlotte, not asking questions, just resting one hand gently on her back. "I've got you," he murmured. "Just breathe." Charlotte nodded, eyes watery. Camilla stepped forward sharply. "She's fine, shaken, yes, but fine. This performance is out of proportion." William didn't rise, but he did speak. Mother. Camilla froze. This isn't performance, he said without looking at her. This is a child, your granddaughter, who was nearly killed. Camilla scoffed. Don't be theatrical. The guard, he overreacted. He tackled her. She would have been frightened regardless. Your son, William cut in, rising slowly, was drunk behind the wheel on royal grounds. Camilla's mouth opened, then shut. Rourke didn't speak. He didn't need to. William turned toward the kneeling man. Is it true? The son shrugged. She ran out. I didn't hit her. Answer the question. Silence. One of the senior security officers stepped forward quietly. Sir, security feed confirms overspeed entry. No clearance registered, no security flag on file. BAC suspected. Breath test refused. Driver displayed signs of... Enough, William said. He turned to the guard. You neutralized him. Rourke nodded. Once he advanced toward the princess after the crash. Yes, sir. Controlled hold only. He remained restrained until your arrival. Camilla flared again. And you think this earns him what? Commendation? After laying hands on my son like a bouncer? William didn't raise his voice, but he stepped closer. I think, he said coldly, that if Sergeant Rourke hadn't laid hands on your son, my daughter would be in a hospital right now. Silence spread like smoke. Even the son stopped muttering. William turned to the steward nearest him. Escort him to the east gate. Secure transport. Hold him for internal disciplinary processing. Strip temporary access. Effective immediately. The steward nodded once. No hesitation. As the guards moved in around Camilla's son, he rose shakily, glaring at Rourke. Camilla stood frozen, and for once she had nothing left to say. The moment Prince William gave the order, everything shifted. No shouting, no fanfare, just movement. The two security officers stepped toward Camilla's son, who was still standing dazed beside the wrecked car, brushing gravel dust off his trousers like it was lint. He looked up with a smirk, not quite believing what he'd heard. You're joking. William didn't blink. You'll be escorted off Windsor grounds. Your clearance is revoked until further notice. Camilla's son let out a huff of disbelief. You're taking his side? He attacked me. He restrained you, William said coldly, after you endangered my daughter. Your daughter, the man barked, was in the way. You weren't even here. William stepped closer, voice lowering to something far more dangerous. I don't need to be present to recognize reckless entitlement when I see it. Camilla surged forward now, eyes wide with disbelief. William, you cannot. This is your family. This is blood. His expression didn't change. So is she. He turned back to the guard. Is Charlotte hurt? Rourke shook his head once. Scrapes, frightened, breathing stable. I kept her down until the aide arrived. William gave a short nod. And you? Bruised ribs, possibly cracked. No acute bleed. We'll continue if needed. You won't, William replied. Report to East Wing. Doctor will meet you. Camilla tried again, tone tightening. If you do this, if you let him be treated like some common brawler, you'll regret the precedent you've set. William turned to her now. There's no precedent, he said. There's only responsibility. And today, yours failed. Camilla's lips parted in stunned silence. He didn't wait. To the aides. Begin internal documentation. Secure statements. Lock the footage and extract clips for palace review. To the guard. You'll file a written report. Direct chain. No edits. To the steward. His access badge. I want it deactivated before he leaves the lot. Camilla's son laughed weakly. Unbelievable. But no one was laughing with him. Even the security officer looked down as he gently guided the man toward the west side of the grounds. There was no dragging, no handcuffs, just deliberate, unmistakable removal. Camilla stood motionless. No one followed her. No one defended her. Because this wasn't about power anymore. It was about consequence. And as the sun dipped lower over Windsor, one thing became clear. The institution was still standing. But its centre of gravity had shifted. Evening had begun to settle in across the Windsor estate. By the time the last ripple of commotion faded, the broken bollard had been cordoned off. The crushed gravel swept aside. The damaged car towed discreetly through a back lane, with no flashing lights, no statement. Just a silent rollback of consequence. Sergeant Elias Rourke had declined a stretcher. He'd been examined in the East Wing clinic, ribs wrapped, arm cleaned. No fracture, just bruising deep enough to colour beneath the surface by morning. He signed his clearance papers with a stiff shoulder and fewer words than necessary. He didn't return to full post, but he didn't leave either. He stood now beneath the portico that faced the south lawn, hands behind his back, hat still on. Not stationed, just present, waiting. The click of smaller footsteps echoed through the archway behind him. He didn't turn until they stopped. Charlotte stood there, no longer in uniform, but in a navy wool coat with brass buttons and soft-lined sleeves. Her scarf was folded neatly around her collar. A different aide stood a few paces behind her, saying nothing. The girl took a single step closer. Rourke straightened. "Ma'am." She looked up. Her face was still pale, not quite flushed, not quite composed, but her eyes were different now, not frozen, just watching. She didn't speak at first, just held his gaze. Then, after a long beat, she nodded once, not formal, not performative, just real. Rourke returned the gesture. No bow, no ceremonial click of boots, just a simple incline of the head, one protector to one person, without titles or training between them. "I'm all right now," she whispered. Rourke said nothing. He didn't need to. She stepped back. The aide resumed walking beside her. And as they passed, Charlotte's hand brushed lightly against the seam of his sleeve, the one she had gripped so tightly just hours earlier. She didn't look back. He didn't follow. Behind them, the hall that Camilla had stormed down earlier that day now stood empty. No guards posted. No aides waiting. The corridor had been struck from that evening's rotation. The access badge had been voided. No one announced it. No one explained it. But it was understood. Because silence, when used properly, speaks louder than any reprimand, and in that silence one guard still stood. Not for glory, not for thanks, but because she'd looked him in the eye and knew she'd been protected. Was the royal guard right to physically restrain Camilla's son? Should royal blood ever excuse reckless behaviour, especially when a child's life is on the line? And who do you think crossed the line first, the drunk driver or the guard who stopped him? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. If this story moved you, if you believe what that guard did mattered, tap the like button so more people see it. Hit subscribe and make sure the bell icon is on so you never miss a new Royal Guard story. Share this video with someone who still believes protection isn't always protocol. Sometimes it's instinct. And while you're here, go watch one of the videos now appearing on your screen. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, with a brand new story.